This is Neil Schneider for MTBS-TV at GDC 2016. To my immediate right is Dr. Richard Marks, Director of the Magic Lab for Sony PlayStation. I hope I got that right.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Well, the first thing I have to say is congratulations. I know your team has been working so hard on PlayStation VR. So tell us about your launch.
Yeah, I mean, we're really excited. We announced a lot of details about launching a real product now, and launching in October, and the headset is $399. We announced 50 games will be available during the launch window, and 230 developers are working on PlayStation VR. It's really exciting.
If you just think about this short span of time, it's only been a few years that this modern era, I call it a modern era of virtual reality, that there's been this interest. And then 50 titles plus, what was 160 in the works total? Like, I forget the figures.
No, there's 230 developers working on stuff, and I don't know how many different titles are in development totally, but 50 in the launch window. And yeah, I think the reason is a lot of developers have really embraced VR. They want to make stuff in this new space, this new media.
So let's talk a little bit about the hardware. I know, tell us some basic specs. What does it do? How does it work?
Well, PlayStation VR works with PlayStation 4. It plugs in, and there's a breakout box that lets you display on the television what the person in VR is seeing or something completely different. We call that the social screen. The headset itself is very high spec. We have 120 frames per second, and it's a really nice OLED panel, really high, really low latency, and really high dynamic range on the imagery. And the optics are really good. This one of the really important parts of our system is it's very comfortable. It's actually really well balanced, so it doesn't pull on your neck at all, and it supports glass as well. And people can stay in it and feel really good afterwards. And
you can, I mean, it's mostly a seated experience, but I understand you can stand up a little bit too, or?
Yeah, we encourage the developers, to make seated experiences. Some developers have made ones where you're standing, but we're really encouraging no walking around.
Now, with 50 titles around the bend, I'm sure you could pick every single one if you could. Are there specific experiences you're excited about?
Well, there's all kinds of experiences. I love all the stuff that our internal studios are doing, and of course, probably like almost everyone else in the world, I would love to visit the Star Wars world. And we announced that we have a game coming from Electronic Arts that is Star Wars and
can name it.
VR. So that's what I'm saying. I'm super excited about it.
It's Battlefront.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's a Battlefront.
Good stuff, good stuff. Now, I know a lot of families are going to be looking at this. Everyone's excited about VR with good reason. Does Sony have recommendations for families? Like, is there age restrictions, like things parents should think about before going out and buying this?
Yeah, so PlayStation VR is intended for 12 years and up, and it's just really the content that's getting created, we feel that's really well matched to that.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Now, you yourself, of course, you have this illustrious career. You've been in this forever. How would VR rank in all the achievements you've done at Sony? How high does this rank up there for you?
Well, for me, I'm all about interactivity. So all through my career, I've focused on interaction. And I think we have done some really great things in interaction, and then we got to a point actually where some of the other parts of the system, like the display, didn't make sense for the interaction we were doing. When we're doing things in 3D, it's hard to do that on a flat screen. And so actually VR kind of opened up all the interaction things we're doing and brought them kind of into the space they belong in, I think. So for me, it's really exciting to see that. I mean, VR is this thing that so many people in our company are excited about. It's not something that is my baby the same way as some other projects, but it's something I've been happy to work on, and I'm really excited for those guys who are so passionate about VR that we can bring it to market as a product.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, I know this question is going to be a little bit out there, but that's what we do here. Console, as the nature of console is, there's always been this underlying question of, will there be another PlayStation after PlayStation 4? And, one of the key questions was, well, could cloud computing be a direct competitor? But I see virtual reality as something that can only really happen on console. I don't think it could happen through cloud. Do you see VR as a justification or a proof of concept for the future of console gaming?
Well, I mean, this is the best console, launch we've ever had before. This PlayStation 4 is doing well on its own without VR. I think VR actually is really well matched to console, like you said. So I think it actually is a very good way to experience VR. But I don't think that PlayStation 4 is, in any way, needs justification, I guess. So
share, if you could share a little bit of a vision. I mean, PlayStation, congratulations again, over 36 million units. It's probably significantly more than that by now. It's a very successful launch for PlayStation. I think I read somewhere that the hope is long-term, through the life of the product, could have as many as 100 million PS4s in the universe. In Sony's world, what would be a success for VR? Well, what's the hopes and dreams of Sony for success in virtual reality?
Well, I think we always have the same mission, is to get as many people, let them experience the great stuff that our developers make, these great worlds. And experiencing the worlds of the developers in VR is something that's different than any other way to experience it. I think our challenge right now is that so few people have tried VR. And so I'm really excited when we actually do ship these out there and people get to show them to their friends, and people who never would otherwise have a chance to try it get to try it and experience what that's like. And I mean, we always make our products with the hope that as many of our customers will enjoy them as possible, and that's our job, is to try to make it easy for that to happen.
One of and it's not limited to virtual reality, but when a new technology gets introduced, and this is a new technology, it's a new era, it's a new technology, obviously modernized in a big way. I find that it's hard to get the content makers to adopt. They see, oh, it's cool, but it's a big decision process for them to actually jump on board. But obviously Sony has succeeded with doing that, with 50 titles around the bend and then some. What was the selling proposition? How'd you do it?
Well, I think it's actually the developers have it inside of themselves. They all love this space, and they all want to make something unique. And it is a kind of a unique situation where there is no big kid on the block who's known for this genre of game inside this medium. So it's an opportunity where they can kind of pave the way for the future, and they get to even a very small developer can make a really significant difference. I think that's something, but I think actually they just love it the way it is. I mean, I think that it's the end goal of a lot of people who make video games is to make a virtual world that they can feel like they're there and feel immersed in it, and VR is better at that than anything else.
Okay, very good. One more thing. You've got the technology down pat. It's I think it's affordable. I mean, $399. I take it you have to buy a camera and controllers as well that go naturally with it. But even so, it's worth every penny. What type of experiences are you excited about? What types of things are you seeing that you otherwise wouldn't have seen on PlayStation 4 because of virtual reality?
Well, there are so many different things, but personally, like I said, my area is interaction. So anything where I can actually reach into the world and pick stuff up, and especially when things are close to me. There's no real way with a screen on the wall or TV to feel like that stuff is close to you. And so in VR, the stuff is now within arm's reach, and actually being able to pick it up, manipulate it, and that's why physics in VR works so well. You can toss things around and stack things and do stuff like that. That's just a completely new thing that we couldn't do before, and that's the thing I'm most excited about seeing developers do.
Now, in your earlier career, you shared some stuff. This is a few months ago at the Immersed conference, and I'll just elaborate a little bit. Is you do all kinds of experimentation in the Magic Lab. It's almost like a place where all kinds of stuff goes on that may not ever see the light of day, but it just happens, and it just has to happen. Would you say that virtual reality is the culmination of the work? Do you see this as this is the justification for all that time we spent in the office playing around? Is there a connection there?
Well, I mean, we made the Move controller as part of our group, and then that got used early on as a tracking system for the VR. And then the guys in my group actually were very instrumental in making experiences early on for VR, and we're still making new experiences for VR. So in that sense, yes, but we've done a lot of different things. I mean, VR is one of the highest profile ones that we've helped contribute to. But actually, I think there's a lot of different possibilities of the future where getting to have the freedom to explore ideas can impact gaming in all sorts of ways.
And I keep saying one more thing. Now, we're seeing video games, and there's all other types of content as well. Do you see virtual reality as being an opportunity for PlayStation 4 to get involved with markets beyond video games?
Sure. I mean, the world is so excited about VR right now. It's like that's got this huge momentum, and there are so many different possibilities of what you could do with it. And we're looking at all that. But the thing that the whole world and us know is that VR is really good for gaming. And so that's what we're leading with, and that's what most of our customers want us to lead with. But of course, just in the same way we do with the PS4 console, it can be used for other things as well. And we expect that these other kinds of entertainment that you might do with VR and other things you might do with VR that our customers would want, we'll look into those and bring those to them as well.
Okay. And one last thing, I promise. You got a lot on your plate. You just launched this new product line. In your mind, what's next?
Well, I mean, my group is an R&D group, so we're always working on new things. One of the things that been most difficult for us is VR has so many new things you can do. So we've actually been looking at a lot of kind of experiences in the context of the hardware we have of what you could do that maybe some of the game developers wouldn't get to look at. So we've done some stuff with full body animation and seen multiple people together in VR in new ways and some other ideas along those lines that I think, it's not always the case that a game team gets to experiment completely in something that may not pan out, and we have that opportunity.
Actually, you brought up social. Just one last point. Do you see VR contributing to social interaction in the living room? How are you dealing with that? Or is this going to suddenly segregate the living room?
Well, I think there's different ways. I think VR is actually, if you look at what exists now in online gaming, you have pretty much voice chat is your path to communication. VR is a richer stream than that. You can see the person next to you virtually, and still have all the audio that you already have. So I actually think VR network social is more social than current online gaming. There's that, and then there's also the kinds of things you can do together in the same space. So one person could be in VR and other people could be playing with you on the couch in an asymmetrical kind of way.
And that's exciting because I think one of the big points of console gaming is it actually does bring family together, and that's a big advantage.
I mean, that's why we have the social screen, and that's why we cared so much about making it a big part of our system. I mean, we get asked a lot about that little box all the time, and that's really what that little box exists for, is to make the social screen happen.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Richard.
Sure. Thank you.
This is Neil Schneider for MTBS-TV with Sony at GDC 2016. We will, of course, be back with more. Thank you for watching.